going on, Jerome's? We are back Monday, daily Jerome's live stream, 11 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Thursday. Thanks for coming along. Big day, big night. Minnesota Fighting Vikings going to take care of the crooked Chicago Bears, improve to become the best 4-5 team in NFL history, and then march their way to the playoffs. Even though Vikings got zero help Sunday, thanks, all the NFC, but is what it is. So we got a bunch of cues. We'll do some shout-outs a little bit later in the show, but let's get hammering. So Griffin Creer, I don't know if you watched the Packers-Jags game, but C.J. Henderson is absolute stud. Yeah, C.J. Henderson's good, man. I remember the draft last year. It was like, all right, so Okuda's 1, debate who's 2. I really like C.J. Henderson as 2. Okuda struggled out of the gates. A.J. Terrell has been whatever, but yeah, C.J.'s been the man, absolute man. Next up is... Also, how's Fulton looked in Tennessee? Yeah. If you're reading this, I hope you have a great day. You should try a hot dish where you make something with your kids. Ironically, so we have a hot dish of tater tot hot dish in the can because we filmed that over bye week, except then I was like really lazy and didn't want to edit it. But the daughter is in that one and plays a part in it. So that's a good idea. Maybe in the off season, we'll do something a little bit more hands-on with the kid. She hasn't really gotten into cooking yet, but, you know. DP, which players on our D-line get kicked to backups once Hunter and Pierce come back next year? I don't know if Stefan's back. Well, with his contract, maybe they do a new deal at a lower rate. Sure, Stefan's played pretty okay. But you will have Pierce come in as a 2-down nose tackle, so that'll be his role. And then I don't think they re-signed Julio Johnson. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. I don't think he's back. I think that Stefan is back some way, somehow, because Andre Patterson loves him as a leader as well. Respect that. Armon Watts will be there. James Lynch, maybe he'll be part of the rotation. And with Hunter back, I think that Afadi has shown that he can be, if not a full-time starter, at least someone who gets a high-end number of reps. So I think he'll have that role. I think Wanham will still be a force as well. And maybe they'll draft someone in the later rounds. It's possible. Daniel Tuma. Skull, let's win. We got to show up the tank for a QB, people. Yeah, I like it started out as tank for Trevor. Now it's tank for Zach Wilson. Yeah. And also, they have they take like the faux moral superiority line as like, oh, I'm sorry, I just want this team to draft a good quarterback. Well, making the playoffs and drafting a good quarterback are not mutually exclusive, friendo. I mean, the Chiefs went 12-4 before they trade up for Mahomes at 10. So silencio. Andy Shong. You think Kirk can pull a Hail Murray pass if it comes down to it, like in the Cardinals-Bills game? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Cousins does have one of the better arms in the league, so absolutely he could. Now, will he have time to launch it? I don't know. Andrew Dreisbach. After watching Cook for years now, it's crazy how much different he is than Peterson. Peterson uses physical power to push through tackles and speed, give him the advantage. Cook is so smart with reading the gaps, using his agility to get around blockers and readjusting constantly. Yeah, Adrian is that old school throwback running back when all running plays were power or gap or whatever. And yeah, it sort of is what it is. Like, he is a great power back. He did have world-class speed, but Dalvin is a much more complete modern-day NFL back. He's great in pass protection. He's a dynamic receiver. His vision in the open field is really unparalleled. Plus, for running backs, not every running back is cut out to be a zone running back. So you have to, there isn't a designed hole like there is on, say, like a trap play or a belly play or a dive play in power. It's whatever. But zone, it's much more, you have options. So you can find the cutback lane. You can bang up the middle. You can bounce it outside. There's lots of options there. And Dalvin is really adept to that. Now, could Adrian have thrived in a similar scheme? I don't know, but I want Adrian to go back like 30 years and get into like Oklahoma's wishbone when they're running the option and the veer. I mean, he'd be great at that. But the Booga Booga Man. I have a feeling today is the day that Kirk proves himself. Skull, what'd you think of the Cardinals walk-off last night? It was great. Like, obviously, we're rooting for the Bills because you want the Cardinals to get knocked down a peg or two in the wild card race. But I mean, that was a hell of an ending, man. I mean, Kyler, I got big love for Kyler. For my money, DeAndre Hopkins, Nuke is still the best wide receiver in the league, and he just proved it. Like, going up elevating over 3 jabroni defenders, maybe even 4. Wow. Just wow. Pull for the skull. Got to win tonight, and one game at a time. Other teams will stumble and fall. Hopefully, we got it out of the way already. Hopefully, Rudy has a good night. Also, JJ and Thielen are due. Last time I played on primetime, it was rough, and Kirk crumbled. Yeah, he did crumble to a degree. And also, Rudy is going to have to step up with Irv Smith on the block, or up on blocks. Cody Brown, where do you think Elfline will end up, and how impressed are you with Ezra? Ezra's had one meh game against the Falcons, one phenomenal game against the Packers, and one decent game against the Lions. So we sort of had the taste of everything right now. But yeah, overall, real impressive since it's not just a positional shift, it's a side of the line shift. And for him to be able to do that, especially kicking from left tackle inside to right guard, as well as him, not having some concerns with anchor and leverage, but he's really played well. And plus also just communication with Bradbury as well as O'Neal, both on assignments in zone blocking as well as picking up twists and stunts and all that stuff. It's really been impressive. Cooper Schultz. Why are there so many tank for Trevor Jabronis, and what will the Vikings have to do to silence them? Well, I think it does come back to just wanting a good quarterback, and if you reduce it all the way down, if you're really reductive, want good quarterback, go top draft, get top of draft, right? So, it doesn't take into account that this could be one of the deepest quarterback classes in NFL history. Mack Jones, Kyle Trask could be pushed to the second round. Then you got guys like Kellen Mond and Desmond Ridder, Derek King as well in the mid rounds. Ian Book will be a late round pick because of his height. But yeah, there is a lot of quarterback talent in this draft, and you don't have to be drafting first. And yes, the Vikings don't have a second round pick, so the F what? They'll figure it out. So relax. I mean, just have fun with this season. Root for the home team. And also, seasons don't happen in a vacuum, because if say the Vikings somehow, some way lost out and they're 3-13, and everyone's like, who demand? We demand. Vikings end up with a top 5 pick. It's whatever. But would drafting a quarterback who may have a 50% bust rate anyway at the top of the draft, or this young team starting to play together, win together, and get things done together, especially this young offensive line with Riley Reif, or this young defense, especially in the secondary, what's going to be more impactful on this team long term, right? So you can get a quarterback. You can get a quarterback in the second round, third round, whatever. But having this team coming together, playing good football, and especially these young players who haven't been here a long time, buying into what Mike Zimmer is selling them, what Gary Kubiak is selling them, that's going to pay way more dividends for the Vikings next year and beyond, rather than just like, quarterback. Although I do want a quarterback. Next up is Nimrod Andum. Do you think the offensive line will finally slow down today? Nah. Akeem Hicks is whatever. They're without RRH. They're missing their nose tackle. He gone. It's Khalil Mack, sure. Robert Quinn, sure. Bring it. Patrick Harms. With Samia not traveling with the team and Elfline gone, how many snaps do you expect to see Udo get? None. I think that he'll be active, but also they've called up Brett Jones from the practice squad for the game, so I think he'll be the utility swing offensive lineman. Yeah. Pedro Monteiro. Just imagine if that other QB made the Hail Mary pass instead of Murray, the media would be replaying. Josh Allen. Yeah. There are quarterbacks where the media does like slobber over them exponentially more than other ones. So Rodgers is the prime example of that. If Rodgers had made that Hail Mary, they wouldn't shut up about it for like 2 years. They wouldn't have. Like when Rodgers made that Hail Mary against Detroit, when it was really Detroit playing terrible defense. Okay, sure. But yeah, the media does love them some Josh Allen. They love them Patrick Mahomes for sure. I mean, two things can be true at once. But like Patrick Mahomes can be the GOAT or approaching GOAT territory, as well as he can be overcovered by the media. Both things can be true. It's like how The Wire can be a great show and overrated at the same time. All right, they're not mutually exclusive. But quarterbacks who don't get the love. Tua gets a decent amount of love, except that might be new. I feel like he never got that same level of love when he was at Bama. Let's don't, right? And then, let's see who else. Lamar Jackson, sure. Jackson doesn't get enough credit when he makes good plays, but the media loves to dog on him when the Ravens offense is struggling, it seems like. Kyler doesn't really get the time of day. Oh, the media loves Baker. Man. Come on, man. Double J 57. Your predictions on each team rushing yards tonight. Vikings, I think, go for a $153. Bears, 30, maybe. Lamar Miller. I mean, the Bears were dead last in the league to begin with in rushing yards, and now David Montgomery's out. Also, they have injuries on the offensive line, as well as Whitehair. I don't believe Whitehair has cleared COVID yet. Let's take a look. I forgot Rodney Adams is on the Bears practice squad. It's funny to me. Whitehair has not cleared COVID, so yeah. All right, next up is last time we were watching from, give a couple shout outs. What up? Patrick Harms just saw an interesting stat on Bleacher Report. There's no such thing. That's oxymoronic. Even though Dak has missed 4 games, he still has more passing yards than Baker, Lamar, Cam, and Kirk. Yeah, but we've talked that passing yardage is a very what's the word? Non-correlative stat in terms of quarterback quality. So the reason why Dak was racking up all those passing yards is because the Cowboys are playing from behind. Now, generally, that's a bad sign. I mean, you would love to win a game and your quarterback has 180 yards passing, as the Vikings have done with Kirk the last 2 games. Sure. But, yeah, passing yardage is always just like a hollow stat and doesn't tell the true story. Like, sure, there's a difference between passing yardage in the first half when your offense is dominating and passing yardage in the second half when your ass is down 2 scores and you're in catch-up mode. All right, they're not equal. Mario Carmona. Kyler Murray's throwing motion is so satisfying to watch. Anyway, do you think our run game tonight will be enough to stifle the Bears' D? And do you trust Kirk's ability to pick apart the secondary if Cook has a down game? I think he may have to. But also, I mean, that Bears secondary has not been the Bears secondary of late. I mean, Kyle Fuller is still great. Jalen has his moments. Buster Screen, the slot cornerback, is man. Gibson's hurt and been bad. Eddie Jackson's hurt as well as been bad. So Jackson missed because of personal reasons, but he was on the injury report and missed before the Titans game. So there you go, nailed it. So yeah, if Kirk has to make a couple throws, I'm not overly worried about it. Yeah. Kenneth. Do you think Gladney and Dantzler have the potential to be star corners? Yes, and also I think that them sort of going through the poop as rookies will help them long term. Because I mean, it's one thing just to always be the man, but to be humbled, to learn from great defensive back minds like Durante Jones and Mike Zimmer. Yeah, finding out that what you don't know. Yeah, I think that can be good. Mark Jr., how did Minnesota Vikings legend Chase McLaughlin look yesterday? Well, he made 2 field goals, including a 52-yarder in like 50-mile-an-hour wind, so he did that. It's pretty good. So here, a couple shout-outs. Viking Jerome Skull from Visalia, California. What's going on? Matt Sonnen Skull from Rockwell City, Iowa. What's up? Purple Rain Skull from Wausau, Wisconsin. Great Day Skull from Denver. Sunshine State, gorgeous. Jens Harold Claudia Skull from Norway. God, my grandparents were Norwegian. I used to know some Norwegian words. I love lefse, by the way. It is not Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter without lefse, as well as pickled beets. That's more German, though. Next up is Sam Axelson Skull from Round Lake, Illinois. What's going on? Henry Hackenbush, Wichita Falls, Kansas. What's up? Patrick Harm, Cedar Rapids. Pulford Skull, Nashville, representing. Miguel Del Arco, Skull from Spain. Hola. John Anderson TV, Skull from Sweden. Ago Skull from Salt Lake City, SLC in the house. Reaver Ghoul, Hayward, Wisconsin. Minecraft Magic Show, Skull from New Jersey. Mark Sonnenberg, Rhinelander, Wisconsin. Nimrod, Cottage Grove, Doogie, DC. As well as guys at work, Visalia, California, again, Houston, South Bend. Palm Harbor, Florida. What's going on? As well as Colfax, Illinois. I don't know. Hey, thanks for coming along, making this part of your day. Big time game tonight. Vikings 26, Bears 16. You heard it here first. Lucas Rauschecker. Would you trade all 2021 draft picks and next year's first round pick, 1, 2, 3, for the 1, 2, and 3 overall 2021 picks? I don't think they would take that. I mean, I would, but yeah, I don't think 1, 2, 3 teams would take that. Actually, what's the draft order right now? Jets, Jacksonville, Dallas, so no real movement. Okay. Vikings are currently 12, and that's certainly going to change after tonight. Woo, whoop. Whooping some. I'm about to whip somebody's ass. Also, the frustrating thing about Jacksonville is that they're not a bad 1-8. Like, they will show sparks, and especially on that defense, they do have some nice young pieces, but yeah. It's one thing to be bad like the Jaguars, another thing to be bad like the Jets. Like, they're two completely different things. Also, bad like the Cowboys, man. What the hell happened? Next up is Camilo Clement. Who should I start on my fantasy team? Select 2. DeAndre Swift, Devin Singletary, Gio Bernard. I think Mixon's going to be out next week. Singletary splitting time with Zach Moss, and Swift is starting to get more involved. I'll take Swift and Gio. Nimrod Andum. So we have a joke in our league where every single year there's a point in the league where someone has to pick up Gio Bernard and start him, and it came a little bit earlier this year. Nimrod Andum. If we had Zach Wilson, it would be so much fun to watch in our offense, like the play action, read options, deep balls. It would be so much fun. Yeah, absolutely. And also, man, Zach Wilson just has a hose. I mean, come on. Like, some of those deep ball shots, pinpoint, they really are Mahomes-esque. They really are. Mark Jr., do you think Houston would have done Hopkins straight up for Diggs, or maybe they would have given us something back with him? Nah, I think they were intent on getting rid of David Johnson's contract as well as getting some sort of draft pick, so probably not. Zelo, did you see it? Yes, we saw it. Also, who would you take in the first round this upcoming draft if you had the power to do so? Well, say freeze frame, league ends right now. Season ends right now. Say the Vikings are 12. You're probably going to be out of range of Lawrence and Fields and Zach Wilson at this point, as well as Trey Lance. So let's say that they all go ahead of time. So if you're here, I mean, I'm taking Wyatt Davis. I am. I know that the Virginia Tech tackle is interesting. I know that Samuel Cosme from Texas is super interesting as well. But I'm just taking the best guard in the draft. I'm not going to overthink it. And I think the 12 is too rich for Mack Jones. I think it is too rich for Kyle Trask. As well, specifically with Trask, I worry about his lack of mobility, as well as I'm not sold on his pocket awareness. I'm just not. So I think that him in Minnesota with those factors, Plus, I think Mack Jones is an elite distributor. I think that he is a point guard. We've used this analogy before because there's two types of quarterbacks. There's scoring two guards like Jordan, and there's point guards like, say, Jason Kidd, right? So there's quarterbacks who are great distributors, and then there's guys that will just murder and get you wins. And I don't think Mack Jones is that guy. I think he's a great point guard, for sure. I don't know about Trask, though. Yeah. Next up is Kevin Ace. Did you see that we sent scouts to watch Justin Fields or Trey Lance? I'm pretty sure we go quarterback round 1. Well, where did they send scouts to see Trey Lance? Like at his house in Marshall, Minnesota? Fields, sure. I mean, but also, well, say they sent scouts to Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, there's a lot of NFL players in those games. I think sometimes people read too much into that. I mean, there's regional scouts all over the place. But I don't think the Vikings will be in range to draft Justin Fields. Maybe they're looking at his right guard, numero 52, Wyatt Davis. John Anderson TV. Sorry if you answered this before. Outside the top 4 quarterback talents, who is your favorite after these 4? If I had to rank them, personally, I would. Desmond Ridder is super intriguing to me. Mack Jones and Kyle Trask are interesting. I'm worried that they're going to be capped as really good college quarterbacks as opposed to NFL stars. But just in a general big board, I would go Trask, Mack Jones, Desmond Ridder, De'Aaron King. I like De'Aaron King. I know he's a very polarizing prospect, but there's just something about King where he plays his best in high leverage spots. Like if your team is down, if you have an injury on the offensive line, if things are going to crap, if you're down against a bad team on the road, he'll drag your ass back and he'll make a game-winning throw. I don't care how tall he is. Plus, also, he kept Kyle Trask on the bench in high school, man. Woo! Yeah, look that up. Pride of Houston. Then I go Kellen Mond. Jamie Newman's intriguing. So I think he may be forgotten because, A, he played at Wake Forest, and B, because he opted out for the season. Yeah, I mean, it's a deep quarterback class. Nimrod Andom, do you think we might get Kyle Pitts? I think that would be an uber luxury pick. Like, say the Vikings somehow end up in the 20s. Say 22, right? Say they make the playoffs. Yeah, that'd be playoffs, right? Yeah. Make the playoffs, make some noise, sure. And Kyle Pitts is just on the board. Say the top 4 quarterbacks are off the board, maybe even the top 5. And then, Cosme's gone. Rousseau is obviously gone. Kwity Paye's gone. The cornerbacks are gone. Yeah, Wyatt Davis is obviously gone. And Kyle Pitts is just there. I don't expect that. It would be an uber luxury pick for sure. But I would be intrigued. I would. Like Kyle Rudolph, And then since Irv has become this really good inline blocker, I would feel better about taking Pitts because Pitts is really like just a big wide receiver. He's great in the red zone. Absolute beast, mauler, big-time target. He's not really about that blocking life. But, man, Pitts and Irv, God, be a good problem to have. Eric Hansen. Who is going to have a better game? Oh, and also with the Vikings running the highest percentage of multi-tight end sets in the league, I mean, Kubiak would be like, well, we got to give some Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts accessories. Yeah, listen to Gary Kubiak press conference. He does sound like Hank Hill. You won't be unable to unhear it. Eric Hansen. Who is going to have a better game, Thielen or Jefferson? I think Jefferson will. I think they'll start shading coverage to Thielen. I think Fuller will have a lot more Thielen on his plate, and maybe they'll shade a safety towards Jefferson, but it's going to be a Dalvin Cook show. I think Chicago's going to sell it to stop Dalvin. I think Dalvin will have some success, but I think it will more open things up for everyone else. Nimrod Andom. Oh, a lot of questions. Do you think Zimmer might want another corner in the first round? Well, I mean, if Caleb Farley's there, take him. Like, if Surtain somehow falls, take him. I get it. Do you think Afadi is doing good this year? Yes, I do. Leads the team in pressures. Jello. If we do really end up trading away Harry, do you think the Bucks would trade Antoine Winfield from? No. Teams don't trade high rookie picks, especially if they're playing good. They just don't. Well, I guess you go back to 92 where the Falcons traded Favre, who was a second-round pick. Except they traded him for a first-round pick. What has to happen for the Rams and Cardinals won in order to make the playoffs? Well, I mean, there's a lot of football left. I mean, them stumbling or them tearing each other apart. Tearing each other apart, Lisa, would certainly help. Do you think Boyd plays exceptionally well? Sorry, it's possible. If we're... How many questions does this guy have? If you were going to place a bet, which position do the Vikings draft in the first round? I would... Ooh, can I say offensive lineman as like a catch-all? If I had to pick one interior offensive lineman, Todd Haysbrook. Oh, but Ezra's looked really good at right guard. Yes, it's been 3 games. He's had 1 great game, 1 okay game, and 1 meh game. So just chill out. Plus, I think it would be irresponsible to at least not try Ezra at left tackle, which is his natural position, which is a more important position. What's a realistic record prediction for the end of season, and where does it put us or not put us in the playoffs? I think they go 10-6, and I think they snag the last wild card. Would you still go with Gladney with the first pick if you had a chance? Likely. Because, I mean, we have like a half a season and 1 game of football in the books. So 31. El Jefe. I mean, they can have it in Benegane. But I mean, T. Higgins is good. He's looking good with the Bengals. Oh, could we take the fifth round Owusu, the guard from Michigan, make him a first round pick? I wouldn't be mad. Well, all right, so you could have Gladney or Twan. That one's actually pretty close. I would slightly give the edge to Winfield, but it's really close. It is really close. Yeah. Antonio Gibson had himself a day against Detroit. Next up is a liner 87-2. Thoughts on Ian Book? He's intriguing. He has a good arm, not a great arm. He has good accuracy, not great accuracy. He has good athleticism. I mean, he's 215 pounds, I want to say. Does make a decent amount of plays on the ground. Like, I believe he had 87 and a touchdown against Boston College. I think that he is going to get pigeonholed because they'll see him as an athletic quarterback, and as well as he doesn't have NFL size. He is a true 6 feet tall. So I think he'll be a late day 3 guy. I would take a shot on him. I mean, it's a guy who at Notre Dame has won games. Maybe he even leads them to an undefeated season and the playoffs this year. I think it's possible if the Vikings, if Notre Dame, I think they're off this week, and then I think they're at North Carolina, so that'll be a big test. If they go undefeated, I mean, it's a shot. But I would like Ian Book. Say the Vikings go offensive line, defensive line, whatever, the first couple rounds. 3rd round pick, they get Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati, and then 6th round, they pick Ian Book. I would be okay with that. I would sign up for that right now. The Vikings can't get one of the top 4. I'm not completely sold on Trask and Jones quite yet, but Ridder in the 3rd, address the trenches early, and then Ian Book in the 6th. I'm in. Ibra John, $5 super chat. Thoughts on the Vikings trading up Jaguars, couple of 4th round picks and 3rd for Justin Fields. Does that improve the Vikings? I mean, yeah. And 3rd next for. I don't know if Jacksonville will go for that though. I don't. So I understand why people love Fields. I like him too. I worry about pocket awareness to a degree, because he's had phenomenal protection everywhere he's went. I mean, yeah. It's hard to find a perfect prospect. Sweet Rolls Jr., should I start Thielen or Jefferson against the Bears? If it's a PPR, I would start Thielen, because I think that both of them may not have big games, but I think Thielen may be in line for more catches. Eric Normal. Do you see Justin Mangel Kubiak as OC next season? Your thoughts? It's possible, depending on how his health is. But I could see him being so selfless that he wanted to stick it out for a couple of seasons, just so his guys Periani and Dennison, as well as his son Clint, like they get enough time here, especially Clint, to establish himself, and then maybe in like 2 years, 3 years, Clint becomes the offensive coordinator. I could see Kubiak just completely being in for that, because I mean, there's not an ounce of ego with that guy, and I could see him doing it just for looking out for others. RCP, $3 super chat. Keep up the great work. Watch you every day. Hey, thank you for coming along every day, Maine. Corn, how many yards do you foresee Cookie getting? Over under 85.5. Over, not by much. Bilal Ali, who would you choose between Zach Wilson or Trey Lance? I would give the slight edge to Zach Wilson, but again, that's not through any fault of Trey Lance. It's just that Zach Wilson has that good of a year, and there will be similar knocks against them, level of competition, college offenses. But I think that we saw a little something from Trey Lance. We've seen a lot from Zach Wilson, who was a starter last year as well, and also part-time starter the year before that. But Wilson has just made so many throws with anticipation in tight windows at times that it really does give him the slight edge at this point. Astro Zio. I think Ezra is going to play really well. By the way, so college highlights, when there's a wide open receiver, especially off of like play action or an RPO, and we're just like, well, I mean, obviously these Kirk could hit that. Well, yeah. I mean, I hope. Well, it's like playing a bad team and then you win by a lot. It's like, what do you expect them to do? To lose? or win by just a little bit, or you expect a wide open receiver for the quarterback not to hit them in stride, or would you like to have them throw off target? Maybe a defender gets in there. Maybe it's a contested catch. Make things a lot harder than possible, but yeah, it's whatever. Brady Doran. With the Vikings showing some life, was it a really good idea to trade Yannick Ngakoue? I guess if you didn't see him being re-signed, sure. But that's tough, though, man. I mean, he was looking good. But if he just left in free agency, if you didn't re-sign him, if you didn't franchise tag him, then you'd have to wait for 2022 for a commensurate pick. So I sort of get it. I think the Vikings were just sort of hedging their bets at that point. I mean, they're 1-5, and then they got off the mat. So, Corin, do you think Trask could become Burrow 2.0, come out of nowhere for a season and win the Heisman? I think yes, but draft-wise, no. I really don't see Trask cracking the top 3. Like maybe somehow, some way he gets above Trey Lance, which would be great for the Vikings, to be honest. But you like Trask's story. You like that he's resilient. You like that he never transferred, never wavered, believed in himself. Does have a very solid arm. He's got some pretty good arm talent. Accuracy is decent, but also all the things that go into, like, while he plays in a college offense, they all apply to Kyle Trask as well. Because, Dan Mullen, Urban Meyer, spread option, attack, yeah. Although it is a similar offense to what Dak Prescott came out of at Mississippi State when Mullen was there. Ben Nelson, $5 in super chat. Think we should tank for Trevor. Okay. Good luck with that. Yeah, good luck at having the Jets win more than 3 games. Ernesto Esparza, if the Vikings win tomorrow night, you think they can win the remainder of games? I mean, they will be favored in most of the games. So Vikings beat the Bears tonight. They'll be favored against the Cowboys, Panthers, and Jaguars for sure. Tampa, probably dogs there. Actually, probably pretty easily dogs. Although, if the Vikings go on a run, say end up 7-5 here, maybe. And the Bucks, they have a bunch of injuries that are starting to pile up. Bears at home, favored. At Saints, we'll see how the Saints roll through the next couple of games because the defense is starting to get together. Kamara is decent. He's not as good as Dalvin Cook. But also with Breeze being dinged up with those ribs, we'll see how Jameis can pilot the ship. And then, of course, they'll be favored against the Lions. Next up is Daniel Olson. I challenge you to say something nice about every other NFC North team. I like the Packers' history. Like, I'm listening to Vince Lombardi's book. Also, the way that they were founded, like Curly Lambeau, just like, hey, starting a team. Yeah. The Bears, I respect the Bears' history as well because, Bears and Packers, 2 of the original NFL teams. And the Lions, Barry Sanders. So that is all. Brady Miller. I'll take Darnold for a 4th. Dude is 23. I would too. Absolutely. Frankie Kearney. When does Wilson go this year, and do the Vikings have a chance? Additionally, same question for Trask. I think Trask could be a 2nd-round pick. I do. And I think that Wilson will be top 12. Ben Nelson, $5 in super chat. Just kidding, Skull. Let's see here. MJ the GOAT. Will Justin Jefferson pop off? I think he's got a chance tonight. Love to see Jalen. Jacob Mejia Meggett. Who are the 3 most underrated players in the NFL? I think Eric Kendricks. Eric Kendricks is certainly one. It's a good question. Eric Kendricks, 1. Say a guy like one of the Browns guards, like Joel Bitonio or Wyatt Teller. We'll say that too, sure. And then 3. Let's see, who else is underrated? God, that's a good question. I'm going to think about that one. I was going to say like Deion Jones, except he gets plenty of love. Oh, Grady Jarrett. Damn. Because for all the love and hyperbole that surrounds Aaron Donald, deservedly so, like Grady Jarrett is 85% of that, if not 90%. He has an absolute wrecking crew, except for this year. Yeah. This year against the Vikings. Also, I mean, if the Falcons had held on 28-3, I know that Julio would have got a push for MVP, but it should have been Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett had 3 sacks and like 8 pressures. He's a beast. Absolutely. Nimrod. Do you Dakota? No. Westworld. Where will Pat Elflein land? Ironically, Chicago would make the most sense, but even if they claimed him or if they signed him, he wouldn't clear in time with COVID protocols. Let's see. Did he get claimed? No, I think he passed. No, he's that. Next up. Zach Wilson. My fantasy team is winning by 1 right now. I have Jefferson, but he has Cousins and Thielen. Who wins? I think he wins because you can't score without him scoring. So it's almost like unless Cousins somehow goes out and Mannion throws to Jefferson or Jefferson scores on end around. So yeah, I think you're gonna get beat. Bryce Carolyn gets some skull. Travis the Gaming Snorlax. Who has a better shot of making it a Super Bowl? Bills, Colts, Cardinals, or Rams? I think the Bills right now. I think the Bills because you have a quarterback who can get hot, a quarterback who has an arm who can cut through cold weather. You're in line to have home field advantage for a couple of games at least. Well, except they got beat. But also that defense. I mean, Colts have a good defense too, but that Bills defense is pretty legit. Except for the last play against the Cardinals. Be what it be. I think the Cardinals are a year away, even though they're a lot of fun. And the Rams without Whitworth, that's a big, big loss. Even though he wasn't having the best season, it's a big loss. Baba Tobias, Yannick been any good for the Ravens? I haven't really been watching, to be honest. Like I didn't even watch Sunday Night Football last night. That's your Yannick the Freak. Let's take a gander. All right, so Yannick has 7 pressures, 0 sacks on 104 snaps. Hasn't graded above 60. Yeah, they're easing them in. What can you do? George St. Baptiste is the Vikings trade, or if the Vikings trade or cut Rudy at tight end, I'd like to replace him, pair him up with Tommy Tremble out of Notre Dame. Have you seen him play? What are your thoughts? I only saw that really nice end zone catch that he had. I haven't done I just watched him on like a normal TV game. He looked decent, but I have not done enough research on him to have a full opinion. Let's see. Next up is I'm worried about the Vikings' path to playoffs now. The Cardinals and Rams won. Should I be worried? It's week 10. If this was week 16, then be worried. But as of right now, just keep winning, baby. Reaver Ghoul, what should be our outlook if we lose to the Frauds tomorrow? Ain't going to happen, but yeah. Favorite meat, beef, pork, chicken, venison, fish, etc. It's got to be beef. Beef. Although venison and like elk is really good. Beef. Yeah. RJ Free. Is the team trying to get Udo on a cheap second contract? Nah. Teams generally don't do that. Although, I do have this decent conspiracy theory. So Adam Thielen in 2016 was heading into his restricted free agent year in 2017. Let's see our career game logs. And he had 960 yards receiving heading into week 17. And then in a meaningless game against the Bears, he had 1 target. Un targeto. This after the Green Bay game. Remember, this was the mutiny one with Terrence Newman, where Thielen had 15 targets at 12 catches for 202 and 2 touchdowns, right? So, conspiracy theory, like maybe the powers that be were like, hey, take Thielen out of the game plan because it's easier to negotiate. Because remember, they put the second round restricted free agent tender on him. And then also they worked out a long-term deal, which happens. But they're like, it's easier to negotiate with a receiver who's not a 1,000-yard receiver as opposed to one that is. And this game was stupid. Like, the Bears had Matt Barkley starting at quarterback. Jeremy Langford, remember him? That was good times. And then also, let's see here. It's a Bradford and a quarterback, McKinnon. Oh, yeah. Rudy had 15 targets this game. Like, what the hell? What the absolute F is happening? Athriata in there. Jarius Wright caught a touchdown. I think that was his swan song or close to it. Isaac Frickty got a target in this game. Come on, man. I love that. Let's see here. Tanner Klepp. What are your thoughts on Louisville wide receiver Tutu Atwell? He's a lot of fun. He is like Atwell as well as Rondale Moore, as well as I'm blanking on the Oklahoma State kid's name. There's a lot of fun like sub wide receivers this draft. Randy Moss is the boss. Are you even surprised that no game win the Vikings favorite? Now, if you can't help yourself, no one's gonna help you. But let's see. Penny Sewell, Zach Wilson. What do you do? And so, what? All right. So the Vikings have a chance to have Penny Sewell or Zach Wilson. I would take Wilson. It's really close. So Penny Sewell is that good. Joey Pesek. If the Vikings make the playoffs, how much will it benefit them going on the road and no fans? And who do you think would be the biggest threat to the Vikings playoffs? That would be big. Then also biggest threat in the playoffs in the NFC. Well, the thing about it is that the Vikings would have played and beaten most of the NFC playoff teams. So Seattle, they took to the wire. They beat Green Bay. They would have played and probably would have beaten the Saints. Same thing with the Bucs. I mean, there's really no one that would be scared of. Like, maybe Arizona, just stylistically, would be a nightmare since they can go 4 or 5 deep at wide receiver. And then you'd have potentially Kirk Cousins in catch-up mode. So maybe that would be an issue. But, yeah, overall, like, there's no... Although you look at the AFC, like, are you really scared of the... Well, you're scared of the Chiefs, sure. But are you really scared of the Bills or the Steelers? Like, really? Like, Steelers seem like the least dominant undefeated team in NFL history. They really do. Next up is Anthony Nichols. Will the Vikings win the Super Bowl eventually? Jens Harold Claudius. I don't understand the tankers creating a winning culture is more valuable than number 1 draft picks. Winning culture makes 7. I sort of get where they're coming from, but it is a reductive stance where we need quarterback, get quarterback. Ibrima John, $5. Where can I send you a mock draft to react to? Send a producer, Ali. Pulford Skull. If Minshew was in the game, the Packers lose at the end. It's possible. And Minshew does have just like it. Like, there's such a wide variance between Minshew, 6th-round pick, and Jake Luton, 6th-round pick. I mean, just crazy, right? 49ers need Kirk next year. I think it's over there. Cardinals got lucky, yes. Seahawks. Man, Seahawks look rough. They do. Plus, Jalen Ramsey, human eraser on DK, by the way. Who's the greatest Viking of all time? Probably Randy Moss, but John Randall is certainly up there too. Yanni, do you think Mike Hughes' career is over? I think it's on the ropes. I think it is. I think a lot of the health issues, especially with the neck, seems to be recurring. It's unfortunate. Scully, Elfline sucks, but how is he able to get a long snapper job and backup guard center? Well, you look at long snappers, they're generally not shaped like offensive linemen because I think it's a specialized skill. And you'll see, you'll see a lot of like backup tight ends getting into long snapping, sometimes backup linebackers, but a long snapper is a waste of a roster spot. No, not really. Because what happens if, say, your center or backup center is a long snapper, then he gets hurt, then what do you do? Right? So that's why on punt units, I'm always a little cringy when like a long snapper is down there as like a primary gunner because often they'll come unblocked, especially if the punt return team drops into a return. So, yeah, and man, like one of those guys taking a shot, then you're just on skates for the rest of the game. It's rough. Fish fillet and feast. Well, it's like people who like Corey Vedvik, like, oh, he can kick and punt. He can take up both spots. It's like, that's a bad idea because it's a built-in hedge. Say your kicker gets hurt, Martin grammaticking it. Your punter usually has some form of background in kicking, so it may get you through, as well as I'm sure that they're adept in kicking off as well. If your punter gets hurt, your kicker likely can punt as well. And also, even if you have one guy kicking and punting, you still need a holder, right? So, and also, if you're going to, remember when they were experimenting, hey, Chad Beebe can hold. Well, that's going to take away practice time, as well as Beebe is not going to be available for all the practice reps that a battery of snapper, holder, punter is going to need, because he'll be involved with return units. He'll be involved with the wide receivers. So I think it's stupid. No, the 3 specialists, it's fine. It's fine. Fish, fillet, and feast. Besides, who do you want to roster? Who do you want to roster? Blake Brandel? Huh? Do you think the Seahawks are a fraud and Russ is an MVP? This is when they get 3 good teams in a row and lost all 3. I think Russ is still an MVP, but I think it says a lot more about the surrounding talent of the Seahawks. Like, that defense is bad. Everything besides DK and Lockett on that offense is bad. I mean, Chris Carson being hurt certainly does not help. So, yeah, I think the Seahawks can get got, but I think we've known that since the Vikings game. So, there. That's it. That is it. Tune in 7 o'clock Central Time. We'll have the pregame show. We'll have a halftime show. We'll have a postgame show. We'll have winners and losers for Monday night. And, yeah, playing in primetime annoys me. I like that rhythm of a Sunday noon game, but it's all right. Skol Vikings winning by 1 million, beating the crooked Chicago Bears, the absolute frauds, the biggest frauds in NFL history. 5-1, and then you don't make the playoffs. Subscribe if you haven't already. You know what to do. Skol, production value, as I burp. Blah.